G'day guys and welcome back to the Freo Faithful today for another edition of the OPPO View, previewing the game between the Dockers and the Dons on Thursday night. It's a quick turnaround and I appreciate Joey from the Footy Fancast for joining me. Joey, how are you?
I'm doing very well, Drewzy. Thank you so much for having me. It's a late night recording session, but there's nothing better I would rather be doing at this point in time than talking about my Brombrays and how we're going to get smacked by your Dockers. It's going to be wonderful.
Mate, I've got some bad memories from the last time we played you at the MCG. You pretty much ended our finals campaign with a big fourth quarter effort in the back end of that game. What do you think the major difference is between the Bombers then in the back end of last year to the Bombers now? Because although you've lost against Geelong, a very good side, I thought you competed pretty well against Carlton and the Lions. So how would you summarise where the Dons are at the moment?
Well, it's a very different sort of makeup that we've got this year, this time around compared to last time. Obviously, we played you in Melbourne at the end of the season last year, where we managed to get over the line with that Durham score, kicking that behind from the clearance. But we're now playing at Optus, which is obviously your home deck, where you perform a lot better at. And Durham's not going to be around, having copped the 2-week suspension from that collision with Adam Chera against the Blues. And of course, we don't have a back line either, all due to injuries of various degrees. And we don't have a ruck either. We're going to be debuting Vigo Vizentini for his first time. Good Todd Goldstein had to carry the ruck load for a long period of time there because both Draper and Bryan went down with season-ending injuries. And we've had to play Blackiston, a mid-season draftee ruck, as a defender for the first time in his life because we have no defenders. And Zach Merritt had to play behind the ball, and all of that incredible media coverage of just how screwed we are injury-wise. So a lot is different this time around compared to last time. Let's just say that.
Sounds like it's injury city at Essendon at the moment. So, yeah, no Durham. Obviously, he had a great game against us last time out. He's one of my favourite players in the comp to watch, so balanced and good on both feet. So, as much as you want to play the best of the best, it is handy to have him out. The ruck battle is going to be an interesting one. Obviously, we have two big boys in there. Luke Jackson had a field day against, I can never say these Italian blokes' names, but the Port Adelaide, is it Vizencini? I don't know, man.
Dante Vizencini, actually Vigo's brother. So we've got Vigo debuting this week, and Dante has got a bit of a head start in the league. So yes, he did clean up Dante before.
Yeah, I didn't actually realise they were brothers. I was trying to pronounce their names on the podcast last night and having an absolute nightmare. But Luke Jackson was best on ground against Port Adelaide, and yeah, really dominated that ruck battle. So that's definitely an area where we can get you. Looking at the midfield battle, no Durham. Who's rolling through there at the minute for the Bombers to take on Brayshaw, Sarong, Bolton and co?
Well, at the moment, it's Darcy Parish is in there big time. Zach Merritt, hopefully, will be spending some more time in there. And Jai Caldwell, main three. Fourth one being Will Sitterfield, who had a best on ground performance for us last week in what was an absolute demolition. He's the one who we give to do the defensive role. So he probably goes to someone like a Sarong type. He is an in and under type player. So I think he goes to Sarong, and then we sort of hope that Caldwell and Parish can sort of win the ball, feed it to Merritt, who's in there on the run by, or potentially a Nick Martin, who we had on ball for a couple of weeks as well. So they're the main mix that we've got running through that midfield.
Yeah, Nick Martin, absolute jet in all Australian form at the moment. We come up against North Melbourne in our last outing, Joey, and we didn't get a convincing win. Off the bye, we can be quite slow. Yep. So we really need to build into the second half of the season and get a convincing win against Essendon. But what gives you confidence from what you've seen in some of your better performances this year? I know that Lions game you did lose, mainly due to not being able to take your chances. But if you are to win against the Dockers on Thursday night, how are the Bombers going to get it done?
It has to be from pressure. It has to be from our forward pressure has been quite poor so far this year. We're very ranked lowly, very low in terms of tackles inside forward 50, and that's posing to be one of the most important stats in football, as well
Yep.
as we like to play a high possession type game, and unfortunately that really brought on the pressure from the Cats last week, and they absolutely tore us apart. I think you guys are less punishing when it comes to punishing turnovers and mistakes, so we might be able to get away with one or two here and there if we make a mistake. But in terms of where the team is, it's hard to really see where the Bombers are going to be able to get winners on the field. Like it's going to have to be from the midfield, but we can't be relying on a debutant to be beating the likes of Darcy and Jackson in the ruck. So even then, it's going to be really difficult for the boys. I think I'm hearing whispers that Nate Caddy might be rested and that we might even bring along
Oh,
yet another debutant to get us up
no
to.
way.
I know it that's just how I suppose we're trying to manage the team, and a lot of heavy lifting with a lot of senior players out of the side. It can be too much on young bodies to this point of the season, and we're just trying to get through the bye. And after the bye, we start to get some senior players back. But in the meantime, we've got a 5-day break, traveling across the country to play you guys over there. We're not bringing Goldstein. Hard to really see where the Bombers realistically can pinch it from you, to be completely honest. It's going to be a lot of responsibility on the midfield to get the ball forward, and a whole bunch of kids trying to keep some forward pressure on.
So I'm just going through your injury list right now. No Sam Draper, first choice ruck. Kyle Langford, real solid player.
Yeah.
Nick Cox may be out. Jordan Ridley. Like, these are Harrison Jones, Nick Bryan, Mason Redmond, Zach. You must have the longest. Ben Mackay, your main key defender as well.
Yeah.
All over the park, you guys are injured at the moment. You're banged up for sure. No Caddy is an interesting one. Obviously, one of the most exciting young forwards in the game right now. Great mitts, great athleticism. So he will be a big out for you guys, particularly with the scoreboard impact. And you mentioned there the punishment that Freo don't really punish sides. I do see what you're saying there. Like, I thought that North game was a good opportunity to get a big win, but it didn't work out that way. And we've never really been a side that really pumps sides. So as
Exactly.
long as you can stay in the contest and sort of maybe equalise in the midfield, that's going to be your best bet. If you can get on top of the clearances. I remember Darcy Parish and Dylan Shield having really good games last year as well against us. I don't know if Shield's in the side or not at the moment,
He's
but
not. No.
is he playing?
He's
Nah.
not in. He's not in our best
Um,
side at the moment. This is very much. Uh, I hope the AFL don't look too closely at Essendon this year and really ping us for deliberate tanking for some reason. But we genuinely are in a full rebuild mode, and it might have been forced upon us with all of these injuries, but we're genuinely just trying to find every single person on the list where they're at. We know we're not contending this year, and it's clearly just trying to look for who the kids are going to be part of our next premiership tilt. It's been a long time between drinks for your boys as well. It's been a
we've
long
never had
time
a
since you've
drink.
been competitive, but I had you guys as a top four as a prediction on the ladder. So I have high hopes for you guys, and you've turned it around in the last month, and you're bringing forward what we've all hoped that you could do.
Yeah, 100%. Well, if we do get up against the Dons, that'll be 5 in a row with St Kilda to follow.
Yeah,
Yeah, like, you had every right to think we are going to be a top 4 side. I think last year we were one of the better teams in the home and away season, and then just had that form slump in the back end of the year where we had key injuries. But you are right to think we can be that side, even though we are still the youngest list in the competition. What scares you about the Dockers? Where do you think there's going to be some matchup sort of differences, and what players in particular do you look at and go, man, they're guns when you watch the Dockers play?
yeah. I'm really obviously your midfield gets a lot of plaudits when you've got some great rucks and tapping down to some wonderful midfielders. We don't have to go them about with them in great detail. For me, I guess where I'm really concerned is your forward line, and I don't think that gets enough recognition. The sort of the development that's going through with your forward line, and they're all pretty big, mobile, athletic types that if the ball hits the ground, it's not necessarily game over. They can also follow up, and they're also good marks. And for the most part, I think they're pretty good kicks. And your new guy on the block in Paddy Voss, he's
Yes.
doing wonderful. And I was one of the Essendon supporters that was absolutely distraught that he left our team because we refused to play him. He won our best and fairest in the VFL. And I could never
Yep.
understand why this guy couldn't play because, he might not be necessarily the most technically skilled player, but gee, he plays with heart and with
Yep.
confidence and he throws his weight around. And that's the exact type of player that we'd like right now. And I'm encouraging everyone to play a drinking game every time the commentary decides to bring up the fact that the Bombers would love to have him at this point, or oh, they wish they didn't let him go now. You'll get drunk very, very quickly, especially with our backline being as depleted as it is. As you mentioned on our list, that's basically our entire backline is out with injury. So this could be a game where him, Tracy, Amos just absolutely fill their boots in.
Yeah, well said. Vossi's in the last little bit's been our most informed forward. He kicked 3 goals too. Could have easily got 4 or 5 against North. And then the week before that, or the game before that against Gold Coast as well, I think he kicked 3 goals, massive pressure acts. And you said it well there. They're not just your old-fashioned key forward that, takes a mark and kicks a goal. They really bring the pressure at ground level as well. So if there's some inexperienced players in defence for the Bombers, we can get you. But it all depends if we operate as a full unit, Joey, because obviously we've got talent across the park, and that's what makes games like the St Kilda game, the Melbourne loss, the Sydney loss, makes it so frustrating when you've got all the pieces and it just doesn't gel. But when it clicks, we can see some really exciting stuff. So that's what's going to be the key. Let's get into a prediction. How do you see the game going, and what is your tip?
I can see my boys being competitive. I think we've shown that even where things go really bad, we can bounce back and respond to that. I think the boys have have a bit of backbone to them, and I think we can be really plucky. And I think we were competitive with the Cats for a good 3 quarters before they put the foot down and really showed why they are Geelong and why they are so widely respected as the best run club in football. I think that we will be competitive again this week against you guys. I think we'll come out, we'll try our best, we'll try and lay some tackles and try and get the ball moving forward. But I just feel like there will be times where we let you off because we make the wrong decision, or a young body just gets beaten out by a bigger, more experienced player, and then the ball sort of just transitions ping pong style. And then if it gets into our back line with speed, like I think you guys have shown that you're more willing to do these days, then it could be really dangerous for us. So how you play, I think, will be an interesting suppose observation. Do you simply play more direct football, knowing our back line is as depleted as it is, and just go forward at all costs, sort of knowing that the matchups are in your favor? Or do you stick with your style of football? That will be more interesting to me. And I do think at the end, we'll stick around for a bit and maybe end up falling short by about 25 points.
My prediction was 24 points. I was just thinking about it in my head as you were saying all of that. Yeah, a couple points there you made. Like, yes, you had a big loss to Geelong, but I think in the modern game, if you're just that little bit off and you're coming up against a coach like Chris Scott with a side that is littered with all Australians and some generational talent in there,
Yeah.
coming up against a young side against Essendon, feel like if it was, last year and Essendon lost by that margin out of nowhere, it would have been a bit more panic stations, but Geelong are probably the best team in the AFL right now. So I don't think Freo will be reading into that form. You were speaking about how we play, that directness. I think we play our best footy when we move the ball with speed. Been criticised in the past for moving the ball slow, but I really like us when we sort of mark the ball, couple steps back and turn, give the handball receives to the halfbacks, that type of thing. Another factor will be the deck. The State of Origin is in Perth tomorrow night, and it's pretty much just been raining over there from what I can gather. So might be tough conditions, but similar to you, I want to back the Dockers in to get up by between about 4 to 5 goals. And best on ground, the form that he's in, it's hard to go against Caleb Sarong at the moment. I think he could, really get to work and get 3 Brownlow votes. So that's how I see the game going. But should be good fun, and hopefully we can get some revenge for that game late in the season last year.
Yeah, it will be good fun for you. Believe me, Drewzy. I find it hard to believe if we'll how we're going to spoil the party. I guess my prediction for best on ground would probably be Dogger, Luke Jackson. I think
Mm,
he is in a wonderful, form at the moment. He's absolutely being very dominant. He's so potent in the ruck and when he pushes forward, and he's an extra midfielder. Really, he's a
yeah,
great version. Could he? I think maybe an even better version than Tim English. To be honest, I think he's a wonderful player, and up against Vigo Vizentini on debut on your home deck, find it hard to see how Dogger doesn't just completely take advantage of the inexperience and really challenge him both in the ruck and then pushing forward and trying to challenge him to run back defensively as well. I can see Dogger kicking multiple goals in this game and breaking it wide open. So I'll say that it's Dogger Jackson who'll be man of the match.
I love that. When he played against Port, I don't know if Darcy played that day off the top of my head. I can't actually remember. But against Gold Coast, he played on ball as well. So he has shown his ability to play as a genuine just on-ball midfielder. And then, like you said, challenge the other rucks, running forward and taking those marks inside 50. But the beauty of it is we get to see it all unfold on Thursday night, a quick turnaround. I appreciate you joining me, Joey. Is there anything you want to plug? And yeah, once again, thanks for joining me on Freo Faithful.
Mate, much love. Thank you so much, Drewzy. Hope you enjoy the game. Thanks for having me on again. You can find me I do Fancast, Fancast AFL, which is a general footy podcast. Every Monday night we record it, gets released Tuesday. So you can follow us there on the YouTube channel for that, as well as on the Instagram, the TikTok, and that and whatnot. And I also do the Centre Bounce, which is a Supercoach channel where I do, of course, Supercoach for all of you Supercoach and aficionados. And if you want a podcast and you're an Essendon supporter somehow listening to this, I am also a member of the Windy Hill Windsock, which is an Essendon
What a name.
exclusive one.
That's an awesome name. Go check out Joey across all of his channels. Thanks for joining me, mate, and all the best for Thursday night. Hopefully no more injuries.
That's the one thing I can hope for from here on out, and a great draft pick. Melbourne, keep losing, please. Thanks, Drewzy.
Cheers, Joey. All the best.
See ya.